Chosen one, you didn't stumble across this message. You were summoned to it. Heaven didn't just set the time. It aligned the algorithm, the atmosphere, and even your emotions to bring you here. Why? Because something has shifted. In the spiritual realm, your name was whispered with clarity. You are the one. Lately, you felt a strange pull, distancing from familiar places, people, and patterns. That wasn't rejection. That was divine redirection. What felt like disconnection was actually preparation for connection on a level your soul has never known. Just like Enoch, you're being lifted out of confusion, out of delay, into destiny. And someone has finally realized what heaven has always known. You are rare. You are chosen. You are theirs. They've made up their mind. No more confusion. No more delay. God says your absence shook something in them. And now they're on their way. Not with hesitation, but with clarity. Prepare your heart, chosen one. What's coming is confirmation of what your spirit already sensed. You were never meant to be overlooked. You were meant to be pursued. Let's divide this into 7 chapters that are heavenly. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe before we go further, because this message is more than simply a video. It's a heavenly signal intended just for those who are set aside like Enoch. Right now, put 77 in the comments if this frequency speaks to your spirit. That figure isn't arbitrary. It's a spiritual code, a holy affirmation, and an indication that, like Enoch, you're living in harmony with the Most High, and the sky is paying attention. This road isn't designed for everyone. Not everyone is going to finish. Only those who are really selected. Only those designated for divine disappearance and higher realms. And you will see why your path had to be different, why your quiet was holy, and why your absence will be more powerful than your presence if you listen to this message through to the end. This is not a message to be taken lightly. It is a secret revelation, a living scroll. Every time your spirit stirs, observe it again, because a new curtain will rise. Every time, a new secret about your identity and heavenly escape will be revealed. Let's get started. Chapter 1. You walk differently than Enoch did. Enoch lived to walk with God, not to win over the world. A stage wasn't necessary for him. He wasn't looking for prestige. He wasn't acting for the spotlight. God couldn't allow him to remain in a fallen earth any longer, because his life was a silent symphony of obedience, a steady rhythm of faith that delighted heaven so much. Although Enoch didn't have a loud walk, his soul was. Although it wasn't popular on earth, it was discussed in heaven. And that same spiritual heritage is what you, chosen one, are following. You've always believed that you were following a path that was incomprehensible to others. You got to listen more, move differently, and obey without justification. At times, you made an effort to fit in, to hide your brilliance, to bury your purpose, and to quiet the voice inside of you that kept pushing you forward. Heaven, however, did not allow you to remain hidden for very long, since you were predestined to walk, live, and obey in a way that would make you seem odd to others but unstoppable to God. There's too much noise in this world for your rhythm. You've been happy hiding in the shadows while others scramble to be seen. You have pursued presence, the presence of the Most High, while others have pursued platforms. And whether you realize it or not only are others seeing your constancy, discipline, and unshakable resolve to follow the right path, even when it's difficult, but angels, heaven, and God Himself are as well. Your life has seemed out of place because of this, because following the crowd was never your purpose. You were not created to follow society, but to walk with God. And your spirit has grown stronger the more times you have silently answered yes. You've grown up in the unseen. The secret has strengthened you to share the love of the angels, write amen, and contribute up to $20 with a super thank you. And like Enoch, you are building a bridge and a road to something more than this world by obeying. You don't have to make an announcement. No one has to be persuaded of your path. Because, like Enoch, your unexpected shifting, elevation, and departure will soon be more audible than any justification. The answer to the question, where did they go, will be straightforward. You walk too intimately with God to remain in the same spot. You were too closely connected to stay in the norm. Being famous is not the goal of this phase of your life. It has to do with prophesy. Being noisy isn't the point. It has to do with getting selected. Additionally, you'll be closer to your divine relocation the more you lean into your trek. You won't lose your position. They're positioning you. You're not going anywhere. Purpose is drawing you in. You're not just going missing. You're climbing on purpose. Isolation is not what this is. The extraction is wonderful. Chapter 2. The evidence will be your absence. Enoch's death is not mentioned in the Bible. It only states he was not, for God took him. There is no burial, no parting remark, and no space to grieve. Divine hands just removed, moved, withdrew, and repositioned it. His announcement was his departure. He used his absence as proof. God claimed him, not simply called him. Your departure will be your loudest statement, chosen one. It will be indisputable that you abruptly vanished from places that degraded you, from relationships that took advantage of you, and from surroundings that no longer fit your status. When your spirit has outgrown the surroundings, God is going to take you away, not as a punishment, but for a reason, because it's impossible to describe where he's bringing you next. Only it may be made public. Drama isn't the point here. It has to do with divine disengagement. It's about heaven stating unequivocally that you were never normal. Like Enoch, your transformation will elicit rumors, perplexity, introspection, and ultimately, awe. The impact of your departure will be felt by those who assumed you would always be there. They will go through your page, look for you, read over previous messages, and sense the indisputable gap that your obedience left behind. Those who made fun of your sensitivity, your quietness, and your dedication to God will suddenly ask themselves, where did they go? Here's the riddle, however. You may not always physically vanish. It may be spiritual at times. It may be emotional at times. It may be vivacious at times. You've outgrown the frequency, yet you'll still be in the same room. Despite being in the same group, you have been elevated to a new level of awareness. The calls that formerly dragged you into mayhem will no longer be answered. You'll quit trying to explain yourself to folks who weren't interested in the first place. You won't shrink to make room for things that weren't meant for you. And when you ascend slowly, quietly, and secretly, those who disregarded you will have to face the reality that you were a gift from heaven. You weren't only kind. You weren't only sage. Someone marked you. There was protection in your presence. Your remarks were significant. Your quiet was holy. Your memories will speak louder than your words ever could now that you are no longer reachable. Share the love of the angels. Write amen and contribute up to $20 with a super thank you. The strongest aspect of this change, you won't have to speak a word. You won't make a big departure post. You won't be disparaging. You will not insist on closure. God is going to be your exclamation point. Your calm will be more audible than your agony ever was. The evidence that you have been positioned will be your happiness. They won't have an explanation. All they'll know is that something has changed. They'll also know in their hearts that you didn't abandon them. God took you. This is the Enoch moment for you. A wonderful retreat. A holy move. A sacred departure that attests to the fact that you are always walking in God's presence. Chapter 3. God is taking you away to show you. It might seem to others that you're withdrawing, losing interest, or isolating yourself. However, something far bigger is taking place in the spirit world. God is revealing you in splendor by moving you in quiet. You're not going to back down. They're pulling you up. You aren't escaping life. You're moving toward your goals. In reality, what seems to be a step back is a heavenly prelude to a quantum leap. This is not a getaway. It's sophistication. You know, God often conceals his most magnificent vessels before revealing them. In order for you to hear his whisper, he takes you out of loud places. In order to replenish your soul, he takes you out of draining circles. In order to put you in a position where your anointing may flow freely, he takes you away from platforms that weaken your voice. Furthermore, God never removes anything at random. It is enlightening. You're not going away, chosen one. They're extracting, separating, and separating you. The environment that used to nourish you is now suffocating you because you have outgrown it. That's a clue that you no longer flourish in environments that used to fascinate you. The discussions seem pointless. It feels like cheap attention. The spotlight is heavy. Why? Due to the fact that you have changed. The next version of you is being revealed by God. There is no need to validate this next aspect of your existence. It needs to be separated. You also don't have to provide an explanation. You don't have to explain your decreased availability to anybody. A breakdown of what God is doing inside you is not something you owe others. When God is at work in your life, your seclusion turns into power. Silence becomes sacred. Being hidden turns into a heavenly tactic. In order to protect you, to safeguard what is valuable, and to rid your surrounds of everything that cannot accompany you to the next level, He is removing you from certain environments, not to punish you, because He is going to disclose something heavy, holy, and unstoppable through you. Additionally, He will not allow compromise, comparison, or misunderstanding to taint it. God is not only getting you ready, He's exposing you. Every holdup was wonderful. Each door that was closed was calculated. Every setback served as a diversion. You believed that you were being rejected, but in reality, you were being defined. Announcements are no longer necessary. People will appreciate your discovery even if you don't publish it. Your obedience's results will speak for itself. Your life's oil will become indisputable, and those who questioned your destiny will see its unmistakable, strong, and unambiguous manifestation. A prophecy concerning your life is going to come true. People who only gauge advancement by appearance will be perplexed by your movement. They are unaware, however, that heavenly advancement often starts alone. He was forgotten in jail before Joseph became the ruler of Egypt. He was concealed with sheep prior to David holding the throne. Jesus retreated into the desert before to performing his first miracle. Being hidden is sacred, and heavenly transformation is upon you, chosen one. Don't fight it then. Accept it. Allow God to draw you away from things that are out of alignment. Allow Him to change your cadence. Allow Him to rearrange your connections. Allow Him to show you your true self. You won't lose access if you don't have the performance, the pressure, or the noise. You're becoming more lucid. You're not going out of style. It's becoming harder to replace you. God is taking you away to create a stronger version of yourself that can handle what is ahead, not to shatter you. Wait for heaven to say now. Chapter 4. From the start, you were different. You sensed it even before you had a whole explanation. You didn't fit in. No matter how hard you tried, you were unable to fit in. You had a deeper chuckle. You shed more tears. Your silence was significant. Even when you remained silent, your presence changed the atmosphere in the room. You yearned for substance and interactions, while others were happy with superficial ones. You pursued the truth, while others followed trends. You welcomed progress, while others shunned suffering. And it wasn't a mistake at all, the way you thought, felt, and moved. It was a design to share the love of the angels. Right? Amen. And contribute up to $20 with a super thank you. Your diversity was never a disorder, chosen one. It was a sign from God. Your whole soul bears the imprint of God. You had favor before you had words to describe your goal, friends, celebrity, and followers. Favor that left others perplexed. Favor that sometimes even perplexed you. However, the image is starting to take shape. You were never made to walk with the world, just like Enoch. You were made to walk in God's presence. You were unable to follow the crowd because of this. Their approbation never seemed sufficient because of this. Their rejections didn't break your spirit because of this. Being a copy was never wired into you, because you were made by heaven to be a carrier of prophetic insight, a carrier of healing, a carrier of revelation. What others overlooked, you saw. You sensed what others disregarded. Your spirit was tuned to something greater. Therefore, you carried responsibilities that weren't even yours. You were likely misinterpreted as a child and labeled as being too deep, too passionate, or too sensitive. It wasn't dysfunction, however. It was judgment. Things may be sensed by your spirit long before they occur. Behind the grins, you could feel struggles, changes in individuals, and changes in energy. It's not strange. That's sagacity. You were unique from the beginning. It wasn't always a gift, however. At times, it was like being ignored, lonely, or exiled. However, what seemed to be desertion was really alignment. You were kept near by God. You were essential, not because you were weak. Rooms filled with pandemonium were made calmer by you. You helped those who were confused to see things clearly. When people forgot who they were, you reminded them. In the space you stood. When others partied, you prayed. When others dispersed, you remained. At the expense of your comfort, you obeyed. Why? As you were unique from the start. It was a signal from your sensitivity. You were protected by your seclusion. Your battle was holy. You will now be uplifted because of the same factors that made you feel alone. They will learn from the things they laughed at. They will start looking for what they missed. God will utilize precisely what they deemed excessive to provide more. You're not a stranger. You're not damaged. You're not in the rear. Someone marked you, and that mark, the one that heaven gave you, cannot be muffled by rejection, masked by falsehoods, or erased by views. God was the first to see this version of you, the version that talks plainly, walks with courage, loves truly, makes swift decisions, and obeys consistently. Since the world didn't create you, it wasn't sure how to handle you. However, God did, and He's going to demonstrate to everyone why He created you in the manner that He did. The kingdom doesn't need 1,000 voices, as shown by your sheer presence. All that is required is the complete surrender of one vessel. So quit saying you're sorry for your light. Quit downplaying your depth. Give up trying to fit into categories that God never intended for you to be in. Chapter 5. You'll be less recognized the more you walk with God. Enoch was not suddenly gone. Step by step, day by day, silently, steadily, he walked with God until the distinction between the eternal and the earthly became hazy. And he had vanished from view. He moved beyond human sight with a steady gait. There was no explosion, no public spectacle, no big proclamation. And chosen one, you're now going through the same spiritual process. You are walking in harmony, even if it doesn't seem like you're going quickly. Heaven sees the whole change, even if you don't. Your walk is becoming deeper every time you decide to pray instead of panic, to forgive instead of strike back, or to choose quiet over retaliation. Your soul is growing up. They're changing you from the inside out. People who used to say they knew you no longer do so because of this. You have changed. You would have quarreled, reacted, and retaliated in the past. However, you can now distinguish in distance. You give blessings and let go. You don't feel the need to clarify yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. Why? Because you're being reshaped by God's presence. You aren't becoming chilly. You're becoming entire. You aren't being conceited. They're waking you up. You're not withdrawing because you're proud. They're intentionally pulling you up. Your hunger is being upgraded by God. You no longer yearn for the same discussions. The same cycles are no longer acceptable to you. What once excited you no longer impresses you. Additionally, this change is perplexing, even offensive, to people who are mired in your past, because their stagnation is shown by your growth. Don't be afraid to be familiar, however. Don't be sorry for your development. You will outgrow what used to seem like home as your relationship with God deepens. You are now exhausted by the locations that used to nourish you. Those who used to stand by you now don't understand you. Don't take it personally. However, consider it prophetic. We're not isolating you. They're insulating you. We're not forgetting you. They're fortifying you. Indeed, being misinterpreted is painful. Being misunderstood hurts. However, what if such is evidence that the change is effective? You speak in a different way. You have cleaner energy. You have more patience. You have a calmer spirit. You finally understand what counts, not because you don't care. You're turning into the kind of person who doesn't need to speak too much. Your presence is a sermon. Your peace prisoners. Your goal becomes clear. You've changed. Will become commonplace, and it's true. Indeed, you have. You didn't change into someone else, however. It's because you at last realized your true self. The Enoch process is a gradual, holy, and potent one. The world won't be able to identify it. Friends could think you're gone. Family members can think they don't get you. However, God observes every step of the way, even every private moment, quiet sacrifice, and tear that nourish the germ of your new self. And eventually, like Enoch, your path will lead you to a place where no one else can. They refuse to go ahead, not because you abandoned them, and you're not burdened with it. The price of being called is that. Chapter 6. Your exit is proof that God is using. It was more than simply a prize when God took Enoch. It was a revelation, a wordless heavenly declaration. A generation engulfed in corruption and compromise received a subtle but impactful message. Holiness is still achievable. There is still a sense of intimacy with God. Enoch's promotion was not the only reason he vanished. It was about God using his life to make a point. That's what's happening to you, chosen one. You believe that you are just retreating. You believe that you are only keeping your peace. Your departure, however, is an echo of Enoch in the spirit world. God is speaking to the world around you via your actions. You're delivering a sermon without a microphone every time you turn your back on drama, disengage from dysfunction, and break free from damaging loops. You're demonstrating what it looks like to put calling ahead of comfort, purity ahead of popularity, and righteousness ahead of relevance. You're not just abandoning stuff. A blueprint is being left behind. You're demonstrating to the future generation that you can succeed even if you walk away. That it is possible to lead a holy life throughout an unclean period. That you may develop without sacrificing your morals, recover without causing harm to others, and succeed without compromising your integrity. The answer to the question, where did she go? Where did he disappear to? Will be straightforward. You went higher. You had someplace better to go, so you left the games, the talk, the noise, and the cycles behind. Heaven knows the truth, even if some people can mistakenly interpret your absence as conceit or betrayal. Obedience is your absence. You might be called up because you've been called out. The crazy thing is that your absence will speak louder than your presence ever could, because where you're going isn't everything. What you're leaving behind is the key. A legacy is being left by you,